recommendations. And we have to say that the participants in our study had a wide variety of preferences when it comes to their learning. And so it's important to highlight that some of them like the chat, others like the discussion boards. And as I mentioned before, many of them also like a hybrid or a combination of methods. So this is very important for us who are educators to think about. And also, we want to highlight all the adversity and the difficulties and the challenges that our students have faced and continue to face. And in the midst of all of that, they continue to thrive. And that is a very positive aspect. It's a protective factor that many students have, and it shows their level of resilience. And so they demonstrate their interest and their capacity to beat the odds and to bounce back in the midst of such difficult times as we're living with this pandemic. And so it's very important to understand that there are all these other psychosocial determinants, that it's not only the individuals and their families, but that there are issues with employment, there are issues with their finances, and all the other systems that also have an impact on their well-being. And so in this current context, our initial recommendations for education institutions is to be flexible, is to be creative and be resourceful, and to listen to what students are requiring, and understand that we are moving from a way that was mostly face-to-face in classroom to one that is more hybrid, where students can also learn in other modalities with other methodologies, and universities have to pay attention to these trends, have to understand that times are changing, and that in a way, we are not necessarily going back to where we were before the pandemic. And so understanding those changes and those shifts will also be conducive to institutions being at the forefront in their education experience. And so in terms of our next steps, we have to continue with our focus groups, in particularly with the field instructors that will give us additional information and data, and analyze other sets of data, in particularly also from our collaborators from the other university that are still conducting their study, and share this knowledge and make recommendations to our faculty, to our program, and see how they can implement and integrate some of these comments and suggestions that students are providing us, so that we can enhance the way that we teach and the student learning experience. I've included a selected bibliography for those of you who want to go deeper into exploring this topic. And that's all for now. I want to thank you all for your time, and you can reach me on my email here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Morzika, sir. That was a lovely presentation. Sir, would you like to add something?
I'll just thank you again for this invitation and to share this at this international and so diverse group of people. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was lovely meeting you, sir. Now, let's move on to our next presenter. Aisha Dambe Omo ma'am. She is Center of the Promotion of Knowledge and Language Learning University, Malaysia, Sabah, Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, Malaysia. Our topic for today is using Bloom's taxonomy for a model of tie strength in philanthropy, the case of poor student recipient and Jakarta Institute. Now, just take a look at her video.
A very good morning to all participants. I'm Aisha from University Malaysia Sabah, Malaysia. Would like to share my research entitled A Model of Thai Strength, the Case of Poor Students and Zakat Institution. So this is the layout of the research. Consists of background of the study, research framework, findings, limitation, and future research. As for introduction, what is zakat? Zakat is the words from Arabic language. Zakat is a religious obligation ordering all Muslims who meet the necessary criteria to donate a certain portion, which is 2.5% of their wealth each year to charitable causes. So most of the zakat collection is in monetary form. Who is zakat recipient? In Arabic language, is also known as the asnaf. There are 8 types of zakat recipient, but for this research, I only focus on those living without means of livelihood or the poor ones. So who manage the zakat collection? So in Malaysia, we do have a zakat institution. Zakat institution is a mandated and collected by the state. The research problem. Less attention is paid to the social tie strength between the recipient and the zakat institutions. Furthermore, there is an infrequent interaction between the recipient of the zakat and zakat institution. Less activity for updating about recipient progress, and finally, lack of platform and mechanism to communicate between the recipient and also the zakat institution. All the problem arise is significantly related with the social relationship. Thus, this research applied the idea of Granovetter 1973 on how to develop the social tie strength through relational exchange, emotional intensity, mutual confiding, and trust dimension. Conceptual framework. Hypothesis number 1, examine the trust and the personal commitment. So personal trust is the degree to which the recipient believes that the zakat institution can perform effectively and is interested in the welfare of their recipient. Hypothesis number 2, examine the emotional intensity and personal commitment. Emotional intensity is the degree of emotional attachment that assess feeling and the relationship importance beyond any economic transaction. Hypothesis number 3, examine the mutual confiding and personal commitment. Mutual confiding is the intensity and the quality of bidirectional information exchange between the recipient and also zakat institution. For hypothesis number 4, examine the relational exchange and personal commitment. Relational exchange are the degree to which problems and improvement in the reciprocal relationship are considered for the benefit of both parties jointly. Hypothesis number 5, examine the personal commitment and also recipient behavior. For personal commitment is the degree of the recipient effort and intention to develop and maintain a stable long-term relationship in the future. Meanwhile, recipient behavior is the degree of recipient tendency to consume the fund, the aid, or the assistance for their basic needs and the ability to utilize the fund, the aids, the assistance beyond their basic needs. Methods. G-power analysis has been used to identify the sample. From that analysis, 129 poor students who receive a Zakat education has been identified. There is no response bias procedure was tested. For data analysis, Smart PLS version 3.2.8 was used to analyze the measurement and the structural model. Trust, emotional intensity, mutual confiding, relational exchange, personal commitment, recipient behavior instrument has been adapted. The findings. Hypothesis number 1, hypothesis number 2, hypothesis number 3, and hypothesis number 4 is strongly supported with the R square 93.2%. So it means that the trust, emotional intensity, mutual confiding, relational exchange variable explained by the personal commitment. Meanwhile, for the hypothesis number 5, also supported with the R square 83.3% means that personal commitment variable explained by the recipient behavior. As for discussion, research has focused primarily on the service effectiveness. So it provides strong empirical support for institutional and personal commitment, identifies several antecedents to each type of personal commitment, and highlights its effect on the relational exchange in institutional service relationship. Number 2, the research also found that there is unidimensionality, means that the results suggest that socially derived bonds can be usefully examined as a separate behavioral and emotional dimension. Number 3, not devoid relevant emotional content. So this result is consistent with the emerging literature on the importance of socio-psychological drivers in reciprocal relationship. Discussion 4, highlighting the developing committed recipient and Zakat institution relationship, which lead to the recipient behavior. A Zakat institution not only reaps the reward of the recipient, but can also benefit from more effective operation through more collaborative arrangement. Behavioral and emotional dimension could be an integral part of Zakat institution mission and strategy. Zakat institution needs to consider the culture and the values of the recipient and determine which activities would build strong social and emotional ties. Limitation and future research. This research highlights only a recipient site. For future research, it is recommended that collecting both Zakat institution and recipient. Secondly, Zakat, this research only focus on Zakat education assistant and poor students. So for the future research, it should focus on another Zakat assistant or other type of recipient. So that's all for the sharing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aisha Domi, ma'am. That was wonderful. Ma'am, would you like to share your thoughts?
No, thank you.
That was wonderful, ma'am. Thank you. Now let's move on to our next presenter. Adisak Suvetawat, sir. He School of Management Technology, Suriname University of Technology, Nakhon, Ratchasima, Thailand. His topic for today is how hospitality entrepreneurs change business practice under COVID-19 pandemic. A small and medium-sized entrepreneurs at Lower Eastern Thailand. You may also read his abstract from here. So for better understanding, let's see his video.
Hi, every people participants on the conference. Today, I would like to present my paper in the topic of how hospitality entrepreneur change their business practice under the COVID-19 pandemics. The case study of the lower northeastern Thailand. The COVID pandemic has been declared by the World Health Organization over the year in March 2020, and it has significantly changed on the tourist industry worldwide. Lockdown were ruled Thailand still not open to mass tourists. Currently, the 2 weeks guarantee is required during doing the research. The lockdown and the quarantines is still enforced for the Thailand. Therefore, in this research, I am looking for the various methods hospitality entrepreneurs use to adapt the crisis. Some may be also refer to it crisis management in the hospitality industry in Thailand. Thailand, over the 80% of the tourist-related business are closed or totally out of the business due to the COVID pandemics. And the hotel cost and the electricity cost alone may be $30,000 and more, not to mention in the personal cost. Then SME hospitality entrepreneur in the lower northeastern Thailand have no choice as their family business have no longer leg on stand. One also has to be clear in the business in general cater more to local the Thai tourists and business traveler than the international tourists. In addition, domestic travel decreased with the lockdown of certain provinces, especially has resource of Pattaya was hard hit. In general, the COVID situation has more impact for the emerging market and developing economic country. This method discussed in this paper in my manuscript will increase the adjustment in investment deferral, adjustment in effective cost reduction, reduce operating costs, management inventory downsizing, negotiating the term of various contracts, adjustment in getting help from the government, concentrate on the activity that generate income for business. And the last of my discuss in this paper is the concentrate on innovation. For the literature review, I am will start with the adaptation of bicorrelation. By definition, is something construct or created from the diverse range of available things, breaker each or. It means the adaptation they will works on the construct and for the diverse range of they have resource. The theory of entrepreneurial bias recommends that the way that the entrepreneur adopt with respect to enacting or testing the counteracting limitation which shapes the relationship between bias activity and firm goals and survival in the crisis. And the entrepreneurial bias behavior theory make an effort to compete the resource constrained by entrepreneur. And entrepreneurial bias is the strategic choice by the entrepreneur when encounter new economic and business operation problems according to the Baker and Nelson's. Wu 2017 explore reconfiguring existing resource to respond to emerging requirement, combination and refuse of the result. Another literature review related to this paper is the Dumic, Dijen, and Luling 2010 work toward a fundamental of the bicollage for organization and business management concept. And they have many scholars that work on the entrepreneurial business adaptation or the entrepreneurial bicollage. Now I am going to the research methodology. This study is used the quantitative in this very nature as it tries to understand the perception of the entrepreneur during the COVID-19 crisis based on the various dimensions that can be summarized in a bicollage. The research instrument was developed by the primary investigator. Is a quantitative research. It is a questionnaire survey instrument that was developed by the primary investigator or PI and tested with the small group of the entrepreneur following ontologist epistemologist methodologies described by the DECOP 2004. All items were measured by the 7-point Likert scale ranging from 1 strong, it means strongly disagree, to 7 strongly agree, following the Anderson and Klebers to test the reliability and validity of the variable. The hospitality entrepreneur were asked by the researcher, and the results were captured with the questionnaire and electronic instrument in the traditionals of the questionnaires. The populations of this study include the small and medium-sized entrepreneurial hospitality ventures in Thailand, focusing mainly in the lower northeastern of Thailand, also referred as the Isan. The establishments were outside the capital Bangkok and mostly in the smaller town and rural area, and include hotel, guest house, as well as bed and breakfast, as well as homestay establishment. Based on this, the table 1, we can see that the gender, the woman, the female is the main gender that respond to our questionnaire. And the position, job position is the owner of the hospitality. Look like I said that in this area, it consists of the small hospitality entrepreneur. Therefore, most of them is the owner. And the degree is the bachelor degree for the education levels. And number of labor that they have is the small business. Therefore, they have less than 10 persons in their business. And the size of the enterprise that they have is the accommodation business and also the accommodation and restaurant. How about the years of how much of they operate the business? Less than 5 years, 5 years to 10 years. We can see that, and more than 15 years. It means most of them is quite do the business for the long times. For the results of the entrepreneurial bicollage of the small and medium-sized entrepreneur in COVID-19 pandemic, we will discuss first on the adjustment in investment deferral. From the table 2, we can see that most of them also adjustment in their investment. For the example, reduce the investment and no increase in the number of rooms during the periods and no expansion of additional brochure. It means during the COVID-19, they are reduce their investment. And table 3, we show that the adjustment in effective cost reduction during the COVID-19 pandemic. The hospitality entrepreneur, they no increase in the number of employee in this period. It means they not increase their cost, operation cost. They just try to reduce the cost. For the table 4, we talk about the reduce operation cost. Look like I said that they are cancel the promotional activity such as the service fee or reduce the unnecessary expense to running the business and reduce the cost of improving various systems such as the electrical system. It means they try to reduce the uh, cost of operation, but they still develop their employee or their training because they believe that after the COVID-19 gone, the business will recover again and the tourism industry will recover again. Therefore, they train their employee preparing for the recoverings. In table 5, I talk about the management inventory downsizings. You can see that in this period of the COVID-19 pandemic, the hospitality entrepreneur, they try to downsizing their inventories, such as the detergent and soap. They don't buy more, buy product that essential to use today, and buy less product at the time when compared with before COVID-19 pandemic. It means they buy the product or they purchase the product lower than the lower than before the COVID-19 pandemic. In this slide, table 6, I talk about the negotiating the term of various contracts. When they are suffering from the COVID-19 affecting, they talk about with the bank or the financial institution regarding to the interest improvement and negotiating on the offer list with lessor and negotiate with the supplier on the price reduction. On table 7, the result, the adjustment in getting help from the governments. Based on the result, we can find that most of the hospitality entrepreneur in the lower northeastern area, even they are the small hospitality entrepreneur, but they did not ask the help from the governments. And table 8, they are concentrate on the activity that generate income for the business. Yes, after they saw that their business on the room rent or even the food restaurant is not good. Therefore, they concentrate on the customer who not affected from the COVID pandemic, and they reduce the activity unnecessarily towering and concentrate on the new business activity that generates more income for them. Concentrate in the innovation on the table 9. Yes, during they are suffering from the COVID-19. They turn them back to the innovation by developing the new product offering to the customer, and they are also developing the new business strategy for the new customer recruitment. And table 10, we talk about the entrepreneurial business operation. They are strongly agree that they operate a business aimed at the business growth. It means they are suffering from the crisis. They try to growing their business, operating a business aimed at cost reduction, and operating business by focusing on the operational personals. This one, the correlationship coefficients, that you can see that the adjustment inventory investment also have the correlation coefficient with the business operation. Also, the adjustment in the effective labor cost reduction has the correlation with the entrepreneurial business operation. Adjustment in getting help from the government also has the correlation coefficient with the entrepreneurial business operation. Okay, I will go to the my last slide for my presentation on the conclusions. After the I present you on the details, we can conclude that the COVID-19 pandemic has hit Thailand hard, with the cross-border and the tourist and hospitality industry has, and the entrepreneur react to the COVID crisis by deferring the new investment and upgrade to the facility, at the same time further reduce the cost reductions and the workforce. This is the my conclusion that the entrepreneurial business operation has the influence from the adjustment investment deferral, adjustment in effective best condition, reduced cost, managing inventory downsizing, concentrate on innovation, negotiating in terms of various contract, adjustment in getting help from the government, and concentrate on the activity that generate the income. Okay, I would like to say thank you very much for your intentions. I hope my paper will be benefits to you who are interested for the hospitality industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adisak sir. That was a lovely presentation. Now, let's come and see our next presenter. Our next presenter is Sayeda Alena Hussain, Center of Environment and Sustainability, University of Surrey, Guildford, United States. Her topic is critical success factors facilitating the propagation of demonstrator projects. Now, I would like hello, ma'am, you can start sharing your screen.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. So I don't have the video, so I'll share my screen and present live. So just give me a minute. Sorry. So can you all see my screen? Okay, so can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So hello everyone. I am Sayeda Alena Hussain, and my co-authors are Walter and Catriona, and we are all from Center for Environment and Sustainability. And the topic of our research paper is critical success factors facilitating the propagation of demonstrator projects. So the aims of our research are to understand what are demonstrator projects and what makes demonstrator projects successful. So we have first defined the demonstrator projects, and then we have identified the distinctive characteristics they have, and then we have identified the critical factors that support or hinder them to truly demonstrate and propagate their findings outwards, so mainly to the mainstream society. Then in order to facilitate these aims, we first established the background of the research on demonstrator projects. As you can see in the graph on the slide, the idea and practice of demonstrator project has been used increasingly over the last 20 years. And the problem here is that all projects demonstrate something. So this raises question about the nature of demonstrator projects and the difficulty of defining them from other research projects. We have defined the demonstrator project as the process by which new thinking is tried and tested at scale and proactively communicated to target audiences in order to improve processes, products, and services. So the demonstrator projects apply knowledge in the real world, and they inspire others to take on those new ideas and innovative technologies following on from these projects. So the main differentiating factors for demonstrator projects are the communication, application, and the long-term impact. And then because we have said that the demonstrator projects are different, so the way their success is measured should also be different. And our research has identified two main challenges in defining what essentially intangible aims, such as demonstrating. The measurable goals often become far more important than the intangible aims. And the second challenge is the project success. Here depends on the stakeholders outside the project to become interested and to engage. And the main way in which a project proposals address these challenges is that they provide the measures of success in terms of cost, quality, and time. And in order to balance the achievability and ambition, demonstrator projects often show success in achieving outputs. So the number of workshops held or the number of emails sent, rather than the showing achievement in outcomes, like the number of new partnerships developed or the number of new customers they've got. So even though the main aim of demonstrator projects is to change stakeholders' mind and practices, it is now replaced by a more measurable definition of success. So moving on, our methodology for the research covers a series of steps. So we first developed the demonstrator project database, which was not available anywhere online. So we identified the recent demonstrator projects, and we designed a questionnaire, and then we sent the questionnaire to those 480 demonstrator projects. And out of those, we got 66 responses. And this is just a screenshot of the questionnaire. Then we analyzed the questionnaire data in 4 main steps. So first of all, we used the descriptive statistics for outlining the key characteristics of demonstrator projects. And then we conducted principal component analysis to identify the factors that drive success. And then we conducted the cluster analysis to classify demonstrator projects based on their perceptions. And then we conducted the chi-square test to develop the demographic profiles of those clusters. So these are the demographic characteristics of demonstrator that 67% of the demonstrator projects, dissemination key is a key feature for them, and 52% of the respondents were the project lead, and 73% of the demonstrator projects started in 2018, 80% applications, and 43% projects had funds over £1 million. So we can conclude multiple partner organizations, they have high fundings, and they have a requirement to disseminate. And according to the demonstrator project, success in demonstrating lies in having a clear communication plan that is sufficiently resourced and supported from the top management, and using social media, engaging with potential customers and demonstrating the viability of technology is the priority for the successful demonstrator projects. And now moving on to the next step, so the principal component analysis, we first identified the 6 dimensions contributing to the success of demonstrator projects. So aims, project management, organizational benefits, drawbacks, dissemination target, dissemination channels. And the purpose of the survey was to identify the perspectives of demonstrator projects on these dimensions. And then we run principal component analysis on the questions or items of each dimension to identify the critical success factor in each dimension. And we came up with these 15 critical success factors that drive the success of demonstrator projects. So these are sector transformation, business expansion, engaging funders, transparency and reporting, clear leadership, project efficiency, raising profile, technology demonstration, monitoring burden, project delays, customer communication, third sector communication, business partner communication, academic dissemination, and social media dissemination. And we found out that all these 15 critical factors were internally consistent, and therefore they were suitable for the cluster analysis. So we then proceeded with the cluster analysis and profiling. We first grouped the respondents, the demonstrator projects, based on the factors that relate to the management of the demonstrator project. So the aims, the project management benefits and drawbacks. And we, the cluster analysis identified 5 main demonstrator groups and identified the specific factors that support or hinder their performance. So the showcase growth cluster is the largest cluster, representing 33% of the demonstrator projects. Showcase growth demonstrator projects are characterized by showcasing technology or innovation to transform the sector or to expand the business, but not necessarily to attract more funds. In terms of the profile, the demographic profile of this cluster, they tend to be the projects funded by Innovate UK, the large-scale projects, the construction projects, the growing projects, and the demonstrator projects that believe they're partially successful in demonstrating. And then the next cluster management dimension, they meet the time and budget requirements, they aim to attract funds, but they're unlikely to expand business. Sorry. And so in terms of the profile of demonstrator projects, they belong to the science and technology projects. They are finished projects, and they are the projects that believe they are successful in demonstrating. And then the strugglers demonstrator projects basically do not meet any time and budget requirements. They have weak leadership. They do not raise the profile of the organization. They do not expand the business. They do not transform the sector. They're finished projects, and the projects carried out with only a few partners. Then the future growth projects attract funds. They emphasize that strong leadership and monitoring lead to the success, and they're unlikely to demonstrate technology. Then coming to the visible success, these are the demonstrator projects characterized by raised public profile of the organization. They transform the sector, they aim to attract funds, but they're unlikely to demonstrate technology. Now, in terms of the demographic profile, the demographic groups are evenly represented in future growth and visible success clusters. So there's no distinguishing demographic profiles for the two. And these profiles develop generalities of behaviors and helped and provide implications for stakeholders to tailor the success and evaluation strategies for different demonstrator groups to shape opportunities for the future demonstrator projects. So in conclusion, our research has defined demonstrator projects, and then we have identified the key characteristics of demonstrator projects that differentiate them from other projects. And then we identified the key factors that affect the success of demonstrator projects. And then we classified and profiled the groups of demonstrator projects. And then we provided implications for stakeholders to facilitate the propagation of demonstrator projects. So thank you everyone for listening, and I look forward to any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Alina, ma'am. That was a lovely presentation.
Yeah, I'll just unshare. So
now let's move on to our next presenter. Our next presenter is Sakila Zain, Faculty School of Business and Management, Institute Technology of Bandung, Bandung, Indonesia. Her topic is the influence of social media beauty guru or influencers on customers' purchase intentions. You may also read her abstract for a better understanding. Let's play her video.
Hello, I'm going to present about my paper, and the title of the paper is The Influence of Social Media Beauty Guru or Influencer on Customer Purchase Intention. Okay, so the contents of this paper, the content of this presentation, we have background, literature review, methodology, result discussion, and conclusion. So for the background, we have one, the rapid emergence of the internet as marketing tool has greatly affected how brands communicate with their customers. The company use social media such as Instagram and YouTube, and also celebrity as a marketing tool. With that in mind, digital marketing is also rising. The psychological of persuasion studies the factors that influence people to purchase a product. So next one, we have a segment of the problem. The question of the this paper is, what is the effect of EWOM, internet word of mouth, on customers' purchase intention in beauty industry? To identify the objective of this is to identify the influencers of social media on the decision-making process of consumers when it comes to purchasing cosmetic, and then find out the effectiveness of beauty influencers towards the brand, and then to know the effect of customers to be interested in the brand products. For the literature review, we have influencer marketing. Okay, so I'm going to explain a little bit about influencer marketing. An influencer marketing strategy is a method utilized by companies to identify and recruit individuals or a group of people who have influence over a certain target consumer segment. The goal of the strategy is to increase sales and build brand awareness. One of the most effective ways to reach out to potential customer is through influencer marketing, which involves leveraging the mass of social media followers to create a better brand image. The study can be done through the use of various influencer tools and technique. Influencer marketing is also beneficial for the brands as it allows them to build a deeper relationship with their potential customer. It allows them to expand their reach. The second one, I'm going to explain about beauty industry a little bit. Beauty is a word that is coveted by women. Everyone has their own definition of beauty. Beauty always been pursued by a woman and has become a psychological problem for many women who lack self-confidence. This happened because beauty cannot be separated from social constructions such as magazine, films, television, advertisement, and it often represent the beauty standard of the beauty standard. Women with ideally constructed body shape, skin colors, and so with that, the beauty industry has such its slimming and youthful, also whitening care has grown into a billion-dollar industry. With growing internet now, beauty standard has spread and not being boxed anymore, making it even more a market for beauty industry. So I'm going to explain about a little bit about electronic word of mouth. Word of mouth marketing as a type of advertising that involves people giving their honest opinions about a brand or service. The concept of word of mouth marketing is the concept of word marketing is driven by people who have successfully used a product or service. These individuals are known as influencer marketers. Word of mouth marketing refers to the type of communication that people can send to company or brand through the internet. So the second one is purchase intention. The purchase intention of customer is the decision that is made after analyzing various factors that influence a purchase, influenced by various factors such as external and internal factors. After analyzing various product, a customer's purchase intention is a decision that they will make based on the result of their analysis and their habits. They will then make their decision based on the product function and their behavior. The next one is I'm going to explain about the methodology. For the methodology, I'm using data gathering method, which is qualitative study is connected with the goal of describing the data in terms of words instead of statistic. The paper focuses on the data in its form of words. Secondary data, the secondary data sources is usually obtained for sources that are related to the subject. The type of data, I'm using secondary data positive sampling. It focuses on a specific journal to provide with the necessary information, and then for the data analysis, I'm using previous paper or journal. So referencing to journal related to beauty influencer impact on purchase intention, journal that discuss brand awareness, journal that discusses purchase intention, journal that discusses or related to beauty industry, influencer marketing, and other journal. I'm going to explain about the result. Okay, so I have the customer cognition of influencer. According to all the data and result that and finding, I can conclude that it's important for customer to know that when an influencer focuses on promoting a product instead of giving an honest review can lead to fraudulent reviews. Some people also believe that there is marketing in some of the video. They also notice that some of the products featured in the videos have been endorsed by the influencer. Second one is usually reverse influence of viewers' purchase behavior. Many of customers said that they purchase products that were recommended by beauty vloggers. They also said that they become more cautious about using products that were recommended by beauty vloggers due to the content of their video. People will also be more inclined to search for products information online due to influencer influence. Through social media platforms, people were able to learn about the latest trends in beauty products. They also believe that the content of beauty bloggers' videos influence their decision when it comes to purchasing beauty products. And then the last one is external factor for purchase decision. Most customers said that they rely on other people for advice and recommendation when it comes to choosing beauty product. This is because they often ask their friends and family for their opinion. Some of the factors the customer consider when choosing a beauty product include the quality of the product itself, its composition, and its values. The next one, I'm going to explain about the summary and conclusion of this paper. So the summary, the first one is customers that consider influencer opinions. According to the research, I found customers still consider the opinion of influencer before they purchase a product. They also believe that these individuals are reliable and trustworthy, which makes them purchasing products even though they are not marketing or providing commercial content, is because influencers are more likely to interact with their followers on Instagram. They are able to gather demographic and physiographic information about their audience. Being able to connect with their viewers is very important for content creators. This is because it allows them to gain their trust and increase recognition of their followers. And then the second one is influencer plays a part on customer purchasing decisions. This is because customers believe that the opinions and behavior of the influencer are beneficial to their purchase decision. The extent to which social media platforms influence a customer buying decision depends on the degree which they trust the content creators. So the last one is customer cannot completely trust influencer. Despite the popularity of influencer reviews, many people still believe that they cannot completely trust them due to the way they present their opinions. This is because they know that some of the reviews are marketing strategy, they are not natural. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sakila Dhyana ma'am. That was a lovely and very interesting presentation. Now, ma'am, would you like to add something?
No, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. If anyone have any questions, please put it in our chat box. Now, let's move on to our last presenter of the day, Alia Sophia. Alia Sophia, ma'am, Faculty of Management Business, Institute of Technology, Budang, Indonesia. Today's topic is impact of COVID-19 pandemic towards Islamic banking and conventional banking performance. You may also read her abstract. For a better understanding, let's start her video.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alia Sofia, and today I would like to present about the impact of COVID-19 pandemic toward Islamic banking and conventional banking performances. So for chapter 1, which is introduction, so here is the research background. There are basically two world problems that are affected by the world economy, which is 2008 to 2009 economic crisis and also the COVID-19. IMF believes that the situation that caused by the COVID-19 pandemic is actually worse compared to the impact that's given by the global economic crisis that hit the world in 2008. And nonetheless, the economic crisis of 2008 to 2009 and the COVID-19 pandemic is actually both worst combination, which currently affecting the global economy. And one of the industries that have been impacted is actually banking industry. Banks now have become the main financial institution in the financial industry, where banks are priorities in the economic sector of the country. So basically, the banking system requires special attentions and concerns, especially in the midst of difficult situation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, the emerging events which caused by the COVID-19 pandemic have put the liquidity from instrument into very high pressure and difficulty. COVID-19 pandemic actually forced the government to lock down the economic sectors. So here are the problem statement. Basically, the global economy was expected to have a recovery after 18 years in 2021, which is after 1 year of COVID-19. As the pandemic actually getting worse, it will alter the path of global economic activity. Composite in that is, or ICI, the world decreased drastically in 2022 and in 2020, almost all global stock indices experienced a decline. COVID also impacted the stability of global banking sectors, and Islamic banking is actually regarded more crisis resistant than conventional banking. If economic situation getting worse, the Islamic banking act will be less likely to suffer, which is better prepared to deal with the financial crisis compared to the conventional banking. So basically, here are the research questions. Basically, we're gonna question the bank performance of both conventional and Islamic banking in the terms of their ROA, which is a net interest margin, and their non-performing loan and loan-to-deposit ratio, and also based on their capital adequacy ratio. And also we're gonna find the difference between in the terms of their bank stock performances. So for the research objective, we're going to analyze the performance and stability of two banking systems, which are Islamic and conventional banks, and prove whether Islamic banking are more crisis resistant compared to conventional banking. We also will be conducted using primary data from the annual reports from top 2 Islamic banking and top 2 conventional bank in 4 countries, which are included in top 10 big Islamic bank assets. So again, we're going to analyze the ROI and net interest margin and the non-performing loan to, and also the LDR, which is the loan to deposit ratio. We're going to analyze also the capital adequacy ratio and find the differences in the price reactions on the stock market during the pandemic. So here are the literature review. The first one is the COVID-19. Basically, COVID-19 is a very transmissible, infectious, and pathogenic virus produced by the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, or SARS-CoV-2. This is from study from Malahayati, Masu, and Angreni, which conducted in 2021. So here are about the Islamic banking. Islamic banking is basically a type of financial transaction that do not contravene with the Quran. And the Prophet or Sharia is basically the pillar of Islamic or Sharia banking, which investor Islamic bank have a better understanding of their money allocation and limit their susceptibility to speculative activity. And it started around 30 years ago, and it's actually have massive expansions now. And this massive use of Islamic finance has sparked attention and debate among politicians and economists concerning the feasibility and viability of Sharia financial model, particularly in facing the current financial crisis. So here are the top 10 leading countries for Sharia compliant assets. And here are the differences between Islamic banking and conventional banking in terms of the foundation. Conventional banking is more like interest-based, meanwhile Islamic banking is more, it doesn't really consider a riba, and therefore in the terms of their operational, the conventional bank doesn't really care if it's halal or not. All they really care about is basically profit. Meanwhile, Islamic bank, halal and profit businesses are really considerable. And for organizational hierarchy, is a conventional bank only under the supervision of the central bank. Meanwhile, Islamic bank is also under the supervision of Sharia Supervisory Board. In the term of the relationship between customers, the bank and customers define the relationship as creditor and debtor. Meanwhile, in Islamic bank is more characterized as partner, investor, traders, buyers, and sellers. In the terms of their project evaluation, and the conventional banking result of the development, it pays little attention to establishing competence in project review and evaluation. Risk can be transferred for a V in Islamic bank because it is shared to profit or loss. Islamic bank places a higher emphasis on the project review and evaluation. And the structure of loan between investor and entrepreneur, there are a predetermined rate of interest, and the return is also guaranteed in the between the investor and the lender. In conventional bank, meanwhile in Islamic bank, it can encourage risk sharing between investor and fund user or entrepreneurs. So for the COVID-19 impact against the global banking sectors, Indonesia banking sectors, and GCC banking sectors. Basically, towards the global impact, it's of course is disrupt and financial stability and worsen the banking sectors. The outbreak also give a significant impact of financial performance, which is the accounting-based and the market-based performance measures. Also to the multiple global banking sectors, financial stability metric, which is the default rates, liquidity rates, and asset rates. Also, COVID-19 pandemic has give more negative impact toward the stock market volatility. Also, it has an impact on the negative equity returns. Also, would make the chain reaction, which is about a really bad chain reaction. Also, a bit for the Indonesia COVID-19 toward Indonesian banking sector is basically Indonesia has been one of the countries that have felt the impact of COVID-19 since last year. The threat to instability in the banking sector was felt by Indonesia at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. This was as evident where actually OJK, which is Indonesia Financial Service Authority, explained that the rate of credit growth in bank in Indonesia experienced a very drastic decline from 0.3% in 2019 decreased to 2.4% in 2020. This has clearly threatened Indonesia, even though in the end it is now under control and will improve gradually. The governor of Bank Indonesia stated that in 2022, credit growth in the banking sector could eventually increase by 6% to 8%. Meanwhile, towards the GCC banking sectors, there are actually two problems that GCC countries are facing, basically the COVID-19 outbreak and also the reduced income from the oil. So bank output and stock prices in Gulf Cooperation Council or GCC, where Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and United Emirates are part of, hit a decline in which might be a causes of the result that causes by the pandemic, which also happened in Islamic bank and conventional bank. The banking system in Qatar so far has managed to weather the worldwide coronavirus pandemic. The entire pool of risk in financial sector, especially bank as a whole and conventional banking, has fallen, but it actually has increased in Islamic banking. United Arab Emirates Central Bank has given aid to entrepreneurs in the terms during the COVID-19 pandemic in the amount of 100 billion AED. And the UAE economy is likely to gradually recover after despite of the effect of COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, for the Saudi Arabia, which is one of the highest average equities to asset ratios in the region in the worldwide, as well as the highest Tier 1 and total capital ratios according to the Ramsdale. Despite the fact that deteriorating Saudi macroeconomic environment, the bank has shown to be rather stable. If oil price continue to getting low, the situation will actually become worse, as corroborated by the economic fallout of the COVID-19 outbreak. In the term of the bank performance, so basically the bank effectiveness can be assessed from its capacity to analyze the value that exists in its performances. The bank's operating activities are designed with the aim of getting the maximum profit possible by providing financial services to public and companies. The performance of the bank is evaluated in the terms of efficiency, productivity, and competitiveness, as well as profitability. And financial ratios that are going to be used by banking authorities to assess bank financial performance. So for the methodology, here are the population and sample that we're going to use. There are basically 2 Islamic bank and 2 conventional bank with the largest asset and listed in the stock exchange in 4 countries, which are United Arab Emirates, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and Qatar, and which has like a total 16 that's chosen by the researchers. Here are the ratio analysis performance that we're going to use, which are non-performing loans, loan-to-deposit ratio, return of asset, net interest margin, and capital adequacy ratio. So basically, the 16 tasks that we're going to use as the object of data in this study, which is throughout the year 2018-2021 by evaluating the bank's health with the scope of evaluating including the following factors, which are the risk profile, profitability, and capital, quantitative data, and secondary data, namely data in the form of vigor produced through observation data of financial ratio from financial statement gathered at various points in time, and data which acquired from Oblis, the daily data on closing stock market indices being compiled from the web database of Yahoo Finance and investing.com are the type of data that sources that use in the research in the term of stock price data and closing data in monthly time series for 1 year before and after the COVID-19, which was outbreak, which was declared by pandemic by WHO. We're going to also use the stock beta analysis to require a model called single analysis model, and we're also going to use the Granger cross-quality test. For data analysis, here are the non-performing loans results. The bank, Al Rajhi Bank, Alinma Bank, BTP, and Syariah, and Masraf Al Rayan are very considered as very healthy. The lowest NPL is Al Rajhi Bank with average of 0.65%. These 4 banks that got rating 1 under LPL are banks that operate best on Sharia financing or Islamic banking, while the other banks are mostly performing in healthy criteria within the range of 2 to 5%. The highest percentage of NPL is owned by Emirate Islamic Bank with an average of 4.96% of NPL, which is considered as less healthy. Furthermore, the Islamic Bank averagely has 2.54% of NPL, while the conventional bank has a higher percentage, which means has a higher percentage. Meanwhile, for average Islamic bank have like in the term of their liquidity risk has 89.56% on their loan deposit ratio. Meanwhile, conventional bank have an average of 93% on their LDR. Both Islamic and conventional bank on average are in the healthy enough criteria. The lowest LDR is owned by Bank BRI Syariah, that later merged into Bank Syariah Indonesia, a bank that implemented Sharia principle. Islamic Bank have a lower loan to deposit ratio compared to conventional bank. Both are in the healthy enough criteria with rating of 3. However, Al Rajhi Bank has the lowest LDR ratio and is the only bank in case that are considered as in healthy criteria. So in the term of their ROA, banks are actually considered very healthy in the term of their ROA, and Bank BTPN has the highest ratio. The lowest in Saudi is British Bank, and which is classified as healthy enough. As for the total Islamic Bank have 2.6 ROA on average from period 2018 to 2021, which is considered a high ratio and considered very healthy. In the term of net interest margin, most banks actually considered very healthy in the term of their NIM, with Bank BTP and Syariah has the highest net interest margin. There's not so much differences between conventional Islamic bank, but conventional bank on average have 3.2%. Meanwhile, Islamic bank have higher, which is 3.37%. In the terms of capital adequacy ratio, it shows that banks are considered very healthy. Most of the bank, which Bank BTP and Syariah is the leading and has the highest capital adequacy ratio, which is 45.15% in average. Islamic Bank in total has higher capital adequacy ratio compared to conventional bank. During 2019, both Islamic Bank and conventional banking had a decline in the capital adequacy ratio. The Islamic Bank went from 20.46% to 20.44%, which is a significant differences, and conventional banking from 16 to 72% to 16 to 42%. In 2020, commercial bank experienced growth in the capital adequacy ratio. Meanwhile, Islamic Bank experienced another decline. Both Islamic and conventional bank increased their percentage in 2021. The CRA ratio for conventional bank is higher in 2021 than pre-COVID era, which is in 2018. So here is the list of beta, which is the market volatility. The list of the bank in KSA, there are 4 banks that have been studied, namely Al Rajhi Bank, Alinma Bank, Saudi British Bank, Riyadh Bank. After analyzing and getting the data, Al Rajhi Bank before and after the pandemic did not really have a significant difference risk. This is an evidence by the decrease in beta data. In the period before and after pandemic, beta value, which is below 1, means the stock has a lower risk than the market average risks. The second case at Alima Bank before the pandemic instead has a lower risk. In fact, after the pandemic, the tabulation results showed a beta value below 1. At the Saudi British Bank, the beta value was negative, so the risk accepted was very low compared to market average risks. In Ria Bank, the opposite applies. Before the pandemic, there is a very small risk compared to the after pandemic because the data has increased by 0.2. Even though the risk received is below 1, but the risk shown is greater than before the pandemic. In Qatar, the increase in beta before and after pandemic occurred at bank MRAQ, QIIQ, QNBK, CBQK. It decreased. This happened because many factors outside of the variable that result in economic realization and variables outside the study in decreased rates. In UAE, bank in UAE basically have a risk value also are below 1, which that is a lower risk than the market average risk. So basically, it's considered very low. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, there's an increase, and BBRI, BTPS, and BRAS bank. Meanwhile, at the BMRI bank, the risk decreased by 0.3. Unlike the case with previous countries' banks in Indonesia are relatively high risk compared to other countries. In the term of bringing calculated task for the market return variable from Islamic bank and market returns from conventional banks, there is one-way causality where Islamic banking market return affects on the return of conventional banking. This can be seen by the probability value, which is 0.0010 is lower than alpha 0.5. This shows that there is a relation that affects the market return of Islamic banking toward conventional banking, which another thing to be aided from the causality test is the market return of conventional banking doesn't affect Islamic banking. So the conclusion is Islamic bank have a better and lower NPL ratio than conventional bank between 2018 to 2021. Also, it's far more superior in the terms of LDR. Also, based on ROI, there's no significant differences actually between Islamic and conventional banking. Meanwhile, in their net interest margin, Islamic bank has a higher net interest margin. Islamic bank also have a capital adequacy ratio than conventional banking. So, bank share in the United Emirates did not have a high risk in the term of stock performances and price ranking in 2018 to 2022. Based on the beta value, while bank shares in Indonesia are relatively high compared to other countries. After the offering, Indonesian bank is actually more danger. There was no considerable shift rates of bank stocks in Saudi Arabia during the pandemic. The majority of bank equities in Qatar basically witnessed a drop. Thank you.
Scalar is organizing a free workshop on introduction to Tableau. And if you are an aspiring data analyst, business analyst, or someone who wants to explore a career in
Thank you, Alia Sophia ma'am. That was a wonderful presentation. Would you like to add something? Hello.
It's enough. Yeah, it's enough. So I'm not going to add anything.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. If anybody want to ask anything, they can write in the chat box. Thank you, everyone. With a great pleasure and enthusiasm, I would like to conclude that the conference was a great success. Many people have contributed in different ways to turn this event into a smoothly running conference with every interesting presentation. This conference has resulted in good discussions and networking. I owe my gratitude to all the presenters and patient listeners, to the coordinators and the whole staff of Eurasia Research for their constant support. I would also like to thank all the universities and institutes who have sponsored our participants and people who have directly or indirectly contributed in the smooth conduct of this conference. You can also see our upcoming conferences. Thank you each and everyone for the lovely presentation. So, Sir Noam Mojeka, so would you like to say something about the conference?
Very delightful to be here, and greetings from across the Atlantic. It's now starting to get some light early morning. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you, sir. Alina ma'am, would you like to say something?
Yeah, it's been a great pleasure to listen to every researcher's presentation, and it was a great opportunity for learning new things in social sciences. Thank you for inviting us over.
Thank you, ma'am. And Alia Sophia ma'am, would you like to say something?
No, but I would like to say thank you for Eurasia to provide me for the conferences, and I would like to thank you for all the participants as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Salika, ma'am, do you like to say something?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I will just say thank you to everyone to listening to my presentation, and I really glad to hear everyone presentation also. So thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for your time. And if you have any suggestions and feedback, you can email us. That is our convener @eurasiaresearch.info. Have a great day all of you. Bye. Bye.